Before Jurassic Park roared into theaters just a couple months prior, Carnosaur snuck into theaters with rubber claws buried along with a VHS budget. This cult classic follows Dr. Jane Tiptree, played by three-time Oscar nominee Diane Ladd, who plays a delightfully mad geneticist who decides humanity is overrated and makes a plan to bring back the dinosaur age. When a giant rubbery dinosaur starts chomping through a sleepy desert town, it's up to a cast of forgettable characters to stop the prehistoric plague. Packed with B-movie gore, anti-corporate jabs, and the kind of bonkers science only 90s B-movies dared to deliver, Carnosaur is what happens when genetic engineering meets late-night cable fever dreams. This week on Back to the Balcony, we cover the 1993 film Carnosaur.
Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, two titans of cinematic review. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always captivating. Your hosts Antonio of the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and Justin Henson of the Movie Wire are here to take you back to the balcony.
All right, so this piece of art, this is one that I remember watching in my teens, and I liked it in my teens, but then the rewatch, I don't know what damage occurred to me during the years that this movie is awful. This movie baffles me, and I tried to reminisce about what I liked about this movie the first go around, and I think it was just the mere fact it had a dinosaur in it, and we didn't have a ton of dinosaur movies with kind of comparing to the Jurassic Park special effects. So this is what we were subjected to. And I think Jurassic Park did change our mindset on how well a dinosaur can look. But looking back at this one, oh God, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And I brought this to the table without a rewatch, thinking I'm going to have a great conversation with Antonio, and I know he might like it. It's a kind of an Antonio movie, but then after the rewatch, I'm like, there is no way this man is going to like this movie, and I'm going to look like a complete dumbass.
No. This got 1.5 stars on my letterbox. It's probably my least favorite film that we have covered on this show. It actually beat out Godzilla 1985, which I thought was going to be impossible to do. But me being me, I can't not give the film its credit when we say that this came from the grindhouse of Roger Corman. Like, this is what he does, right? And this is probably the grandfather of those films that like Asylum puts out now, where if you've got a major IP in the theater or on the video shelf, there's going to be a low budget knockoff that's either going to fool the uninitiated in the video stores, or they're going to grab it because all the new releases of Jurassic Park are out. And so they're going to grab Carnosaur. There's something special to be said about that by creating that subgenre, the, let's say, dupe of whatever intellectual property is popular at the time, whether it's Transmorphers or some undersea film. And like, let's say Sharknado even. You know, science, the Sci-Fi Channel has definitely made its bread and butter in the last decade by taking that concept and then just doubling down on it and getting people excited for it. So I can honestly say that none of that would exist if it wasn't for Carnosaur. And as bad as a movie it is, the thing got 4 sequels, and we're talking about it here 30 years later. So there's something special about that.
There is, and again, going to the video store, it's hard to ignore. We've talked about this even with Godzilla 1985, is just the cover art to it. It was an appeasing, enticing movie to go to, especially if you're going up against a movie like Jurassic Park. It was just a flat dinosaur with highlights in the background that just said, "Rent me." And that's where I first was introduced to it. And when it comes to Corman's cheekiness to how he does low budget, the banking off of somebody else's creativity, I mean, there is, like you said, there is a respect to it, but the problem I have is we can't gain that respect until probably about a decade later when filmmakers were actually having fun with this concept. Even when we take Sharknado or a lot of these B movies that knew what they are and they just leaned into it and like you said, doubled down on it on the fun factor. But here, there is no fun to be had. Even when we take the actual storyline of a plague of women getting pregnant with dinosaurs and the gruesome fact and the gruesome visuals we get with it, there's nothing fun with that. It just is gross. It is disgusting and it's unappealing. So I think what is missing, Carnosaur could have been something better. And I don't want this taken out of context, but the sequels got better with the fun factor down the road, but they're not good movies. But they did realize a little bit of the fun element to it after the first initial movie. Here it's just the visuals are gross intentionally and unintentionally.
Well, I mean, that's so funny is because when you mentioned bringing this to the show, I haven't watched this since I was probably 13 or 14 when it came out on video. And I specifically remembered the birthing scene. Like, that is a scene that I remembered out of all of the nonsense in this movie. And I was like, I'm really excited to see that scene again because it played worse in my head than what it really was. But like the gore that they go after and the special effects, one of the things that our critics don't mention later on in this episode is that this thing costs only $850,000, right? It looks more than that. Is it a $1 million movie on screen? No, but it definitely creates a world and it has special effects and it actually feels like a quality picture in the sense of this wasn't something that was made with bad stop motion. This wasn't something that was made like Land of the Lost back in the early 80s, right? With just people in funny costumes. There's some wizardry to this. There's some clever puppetry to this. They even try to like alien power load fight at the end. There's some cleverness to it. It's not enough to save the movie. But what does fascinate me about this is that, for one, this was based off of a novel that predates Jurassic Park, 1983, the novel Carnosaur by John Brosnan, and it's nothing like this. Nothing like this at all. I can only imagine what that guy thought when Jurassic Park had been announced, and all of a sudden Roger Corman's like, "Hey, I want to buy the rights to your novel." And this author's like, "Oh, that's so exciting because my novel's got so much great stuff in it. It's got sexuality, it's got violence, it's got all these great ideas about science." And then he goes and watches what they do to it and it's like, "Oh, we're going to genetically engineer chickens to impregnate women so they deliver dinosaurs to wipe out the human race one generation at a time." And it's bonkers. Like, what was the deal with that guy after he left the theater? It's like, that's what they did to my book. I can only imagine. But in the campiness of that, we get this kind of genre. We get this. We're not even going to attempt to take ourselves seriously to the point where we're going to have Diane Ladd be the most bonkers, mad scientist in cinema history. And she just owns every second of it, and they praise it later. But that is probably what makes this movie more than anything, is that performance and the dedication to its ridiculousness.
Leave it to you, and I love you so much, but leave it to you to find an appreciation and use the word quality when it comes to special effects in here. And I get the budget, I do. But even when we get to the battle royale scene of it, they don't even have the budget for our characters to go into the biggest bulldozers. They get in the smallest shit they can find to go up against this
Literally,
dinosaur.
whatever was on the side of the road, and they just probably stole and took to the set. That's what it looks like.
Well, you see these big bulldozers, and then they come in dune buggies to battle this thing. I'm like, good Lord. So I get it. This was pre CGI. It was a low budget, and I will give you credit. Yeah, with the budget at hand, it was some tactful puppetry, and that's what it is. But the fact we can identify that this thing was a plastic puppet that I think Sesame Street could have done better with is, again, we do have some skill when it comes to dimming the lights, doing some up close shots on the eye, but nothing else. We do have our director make do with what he has. So I will give credit to that on a low budget movie. And that's all we can do. The fact that they don't even have the budget to get in a big bulldozer because it's probably about 50 bucks more than the actual dune buggies that they rode. Yeah, it was tactful when it comes to budget. But at the same time, I think what is missing here is kind of what we've talked about before, is having fun with it, having fun with the dialogue, the characters having fun. Everybody here is delivering lines like it's going to be the greatest movie ever. It's not. The dialogue, if you just read the script, it's a dinosaur that comes out of eggs out of females. It's a plague. It's a ridiculous story. So, but we have all these new actors and actresses attack this script like this is my big move. And the ambition I can appreciate, but at the same time, it takes somebody to take a little bit of risk with their dialogue to just go all in with the ridiculousness of it. And that's what's going to make a standout actor or actress is taking dialogue and going against the current. And I think that's what's really missing here is there's no memorable character except for Diane Ladd, who knows what this material is. She's supposed to be a mad scientist, and our critics are going to talk about it. She is the best piece of the movie because she goes overly done. She has that mystery to her, but she needs to be a little bit ridiculous when she needs to be. So I think that's what makes this movie special. You have an experienced actress that knows what this is. Why she accepted it? No, I have no freaking clue, but she does the best job with it than the rest of the cast.
I mean, if you think about how bonkers her performance in Wild at Heart is, and that it was a nominated performance, and then here just 2 years later is this craziness that she again doesn't phone it in at all. She's bringing all the energy to it. There's a lot of weird connections with this movie, man. Like, I wanted to say at first that this was kind of like an homage to an Ed Wood thing because this is 1993, but then I realized that Ed Wood was 94, and there are actors in Ed Wood that are featured in this movie. Ned Bellamy and Brent Heakley in particular are in Ed Wood. And so, in my opinion, at first I was like, oh, well, Tim Burton just grabbed these B movie actors from Carnosaur to put in his film about a B movie director. But this came first. So it's like the opposite of that. He brought B movie actors into his film about a B movie director. I think that's kind of brilliant. You've got Clint Howard in there, and how can a movie be serious if Clint Howard's in it? I feel like the only time he's a serious person in a movie is if his brother is directing it and he's in it, like Apollo 13 and so on and so forth. But dude, the craziest connection in this movie for me is the DNA. We're speaking about DNA now, right? Follow me here. So you've got Diane Ladd in this film about DNA and dinosaurs. But then a couple weeks later, you've got Jurassic Park, where her daughter, Laura Dern, is in the most important dinosaur movie of all time. But then we've got Clint Howard in this film, and then his niece, Bryce Dallas Howard, is in the Jurassic World movies. Like, the connections here, I almost was like, is this a conspiracy? Is this New World Order shit? Like, does it all come back to Carnosaur? And that just made me even more excited about this movie.
You know, Laura Dern was giving details of Jurassic Park on how to do the genetic piece of this movie. It wasn't the adaptation of the book. It was Laura Dern seeking information.
Right.
But it's almost like a nostalgia thing. So you're not wrong. It could be one of those things that everybody in the family needs to be in a dinosaur movie. So, I mean, who knows? Scarlett Johansson's kid might be in the next Jurassic World
You don't know.
20 in the next 20 years. So I think there is a special connection when it comes to dinosaurs in film and cinema, because no matter how bad the production is, as a kid or as a teen, they are super cool. And if it's done right as an adult, they are super cool. And when you get a script, especially as a new actor or actress, and you have dinosaurs in it, it's almost like an automatic, I'm doing this because you're automatically thinking this is my big break. It's going to be cool. It's going to be a big budget. It's going to really have me go up against a terror that I can show my range. So I think it is a smart move for new performers to go into. But I don't wanna give give them too much credit on the filmmakers of intentionally getting B-list actors because, again, it was a small budget. There's not like there's a big choice. I think the highest paid is gonna be Diane Ladd in this movie. So I think most of the budget going to the cheap puppet and Diane Ladd, everything else went sub to the cast that we had on hand, which leads to the forgettable cast that we have. I shouldn't say cast, I should say
The
performance.
paid players, really.
The
But
paid players, yes.
again, that is the Roger Corman magic. That's a Roger Corman charm. There is something very calculated and special about exploitation movies where he knows that his audience is going to be predominantly adolescents and younger teens. Like he knows that. That's not who it's going to be marketed for. Like it's an R-rated movie, you got to be 17 without an adult, blah blah blah. However, he knows who's really going to seek this movie out. He knows who's going to try and sneak it into the video pile when the parents are at Blockbuster and then they check out. Like who rented Carnosaur? Like he made this formula last for over 50 years where it's like I don't need to make a big budget movie or make a big successful blockbuster. All I need to do is make enough money off the last one to make the next one and just keep that ever going cycle of financing a film with the very low margins of the previous one. You're not going to break the bank. You're just going to be able to keep creating. And to me, that is more important than being the king of the hill of blockbuster filmmaking. I think it's more important to have a filmmaker or a producer that it's more important for them to ever be creating than owning everything, than winning everything. Because at the end of the day, slow and steady wins the race, in my opinion. Think of how many big directors or big movie stars flew too close to the sun, and then we don't hear about them anymore. They fade away or they just drop off. Where Corman, he just kept on cranking them out until the day he died. And the people that worked for him, they grew up to have great careers based off of that model, where it's like, I'm just going to keep this going, this train of creation of making and producing and not trying to be too big or too much because the collapse is going to be bigger if I reach that point and I can't keep that momentum going.
It is, and again, there's an appreciation for the business aspect of it, but my appreciation is gonna go more to Lloyd Kaufman, who actually went all in with the ridiculousness of it versus just a copycat. So, even when we do kind of a copycat story or anything like that, we do have a little bit more fun factor. Here, I think this is where it just takes it too serious. And given the idea of a budget at an $800,000 budget, we should know that this isn't going to end well. So you can lean into the adolescent piece of it of sneaking the movie. And I think that's where the brilliance of the cover art comes in because it is appealing to kids or teenagers to sneak that movie in. But at the end of the day, it fooled me. As a teenager, I rented this and I actually liked it. But as an adult, that's where it doesn't age well, where I have more appreciation for a Kaufman film on just the pure silliness of it. And those are the ones to me that age better than the ones that take itself too seriously. And I think that's what my main problem is during the rewatch is I was getting utterly bored watching this because there was nothing appeasing to me. And we're banking on this a B movie, if you want to call it that, or cult classic, whatever it is, to really target to the adolescents. But here's where it doesn't age well. You put this in front of a teen now, and they're going to call it
Yeah.
garbage because the expectation is raised over the years. So I think if we were to compare the B movies, Kaufman, you have the let's laugh at it piece of it versus this, which is it's stupid.
Yeah, and I can only say to that is that this was trying to be the dupe of what at that point was going to be an unmatchable success of a film. Essentially, the film that we give credit to the creation of CGI characters at feature length too. Jurassic Park changed the game. This movie beat it to the punch to the theaters, being a dupe of it, but I don't think it understood the scope that Jurassic Park was going to have and set for all films made after it. So that's an ambitious take because we've seen like the Alien ripoffs of the 80s and late 70s. The Italians did a bunch of them. They're all garbage, but they all tried to keep to that formula of the film that came out before it. And this film was trying to beat Jurassic Park to the punch. There was no way it was going to win. And I just think that they did not anticipate Jurassic Park being the biggest cinema event of that decade, because it was. So yeah, I think that is the big challenge thing. But I'm telling you, man, the conversation we just had, the points that we just made about the film, the respect that we have for its filmmakers or the laughable performances that we think are in it, nothing is as ridiculous as this conversation between Gene and Roger about Carnosaur. Because of the 82, 83 episodes that we've done, this is the one that probably blew my mind the most. Are you ready for it?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so Gene brought this to the show.
Our next film is called Carnosaur, about a mad scientist who hatches a plan to wipe out the human race while genetically engineering the return of the dinosaur to its place as king of the planet. And right away, I like this movie for the sheer goofiness of that idea. I'm sure this is going to really please Diane Ladd. She's the best thing in the movie, more interesting than the dinosaurs, just what an actress wants to hear. Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park is coming out next month, and it's going to feature high-tech dinosaurs. It's going to be interesting to see, however, whether he has any humans as enjoyable as Diane Ladd's character in Carnosaur. So a marginal thumbs up for me.
Okay, marginal or not, the dude just said he enjoyed this movie and gave it a thumbs up. Who is that guy? I think that's not Gene. That is a genetically modified chicken man from Carnosaur that snuck his way onto this set and gave that review of the film.
That was the same puppeteer that was controlling the dinosaur, because he even gave the special effects a semi-compliment that Diane Ladd is just as interesting as the dinosaur. That's a backhanded compliment. That is so stupid that even as a film critic, you recognize this is a guy that dissed Baby when it came out on the special effects, and this one is hands down 10 times worse than that. So the fact that he's bringing that up and still giving a marginal thumbs up based on an idea and a performance, that is absolutely mind-shattering.
And you and I have done enough of these episodes to know that the critic that is the most offensive of genre films like this is Roger, not Gene. And Roger doesn't agree with him.
Well, a thumbs down for me, Gene, although I did enjoy Diane Ladd's kind of mad intensity. She has that sort of way of zeroing in on her lines as if everything in the entire future of mankind depends upon what she's doing here.
I think she's one of the craziest characters that we've ever seen in a movie. I mean, this woman is, I mean, she's really way out there. The easiest thing would be, we always get it, the villain is always someone who wants to destroy the world. She's got a very specific plan. She hates people. And she loves dinosaurs and thinks they should be in charge. I mean, that's fabulously loony.
So we just did Cop and a Half a couple weeks ago. And again, the roles were reversed. Roger was very complimentary of the film. He liked it, as we did. And he liked little Norman Golden's performance. He thought that it was like the perfect blend of comedy and kid friendliness and the chemistry between him and Burt Reynolds, all the things that we liked. And then Gene just wanted to piss on everything. They've switched places on this one. This is something that obviously Roger doesn't like. He will compliment Diane Ladd's performance, because how can you not? But even he's looking at Gene like, bro, are you okay? I mean, it sounds like he has a bit of a cold or a sore throat. Like maybe he was hopped up on Sudafed when he saw this movie and was like, wow, this is like the best thing ever. But this is not the Gene that I have come to know over the last 80-something episodes, that this is the movie. I mean, I thought his take on John Carpenter's vampires was hot. This is like scorching hot.
Well, you can tell Roger is dumbfounded here. He doesn't know where to go, because he's just agreeing with him in short answers with an awkward laugh. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So this one, I remember when I first saw Master of Disguise, hopped up on NyQuil, and I thought that was a good movie at the time. And then I kicked my own ass after I sobered up. So this one, this one had to be one of those that he regretted down the road, but wouldn't want to admit it. So this one, it's just this is where you can tell a critic's class is Roger can understand and agree that the performance is good. We've had that conversation that Diane Ladd has a good performance here, but there is nothing further to go beyond that. And this is where I think Roger, I think, shouldn't have been as nice to this aspect. He should have matched the cop and a half energy because I think critics sided with Roger versus the cop and a half one. This one would have been more classic for Roger to bring up decades down the road in disagreements.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's no way. Could you imagine if they gave Carnosaur 2 thumbs up when we've covered lots of movies they gave 2 thumbs down to that are way better than this? The world would have broken in half, man. There's no way that Roger's going to give a thumbs up to Carnosaur and have it be a 2 thumbs up movie. I get it. He is trying to humor his friend here, but again, like it doesn't make sense to me how Gene likes this movie so much. Here's the other thing too. There are times where like I feel that Gene is often like misrepresenting himself to not lose his credibility, where he really likes a movie, but he's going to say he doesn't like it because Roger liked it, and he needs some kind of contrarian opinion to make the show look interesting, but also to not give up his credibility as a critic. He's done it with horror movies mostly. He did it with Fright Night. He's done it with several other films of that particular ilk. Why this one? Why is this a film that he changed his modus operandi on? Like, this is not his MO to like a film like this. It's not. It's not his place to be appreciative of even a great goofy performance and let the rest of this movie slide into a thumb up. I don't know why he's trying to shift the narrative. It makes no sense to me.
Well, especially when Roger is the critic that really does enjoy a good idea. He really does enjoy a good sci-fi idea. And it was like a fever dream. I remember this review, but I remember vaguely thinking Roger gave it a thumbs up. And that's why I brought it more to the table is this is going to be a good reflection. But when I rewatched the review, hearing Gene say it, it's so out of his criteria of what he likes. He hates pointless gore. He hates bad special effects.
He hates monsters in movies.
100%. So there is nothing to justify for this movie review to make sense because he, again, says it in the beginning. He liked the performance. He liked the idea of it, but he can't really, and even the special effects, vaguely,
Yeah.
he talks about. There is nothing here to make a great, credible review from Gene other than just the idea of it. And I know when we all walk into movies, it depends on the movie mood. There are times I walk in where I think I'm going to hate a movie, but it takes me by surprise because I'm in that emotional mood that I'm going to feel good about a movie. Movies and movie criticism is such a mute point because moods change on a daily basis, and how you feel about a movie could change the next day versus a previous day of a bad mood. And I think this is just a mood that Gene was in, saying, I was in a bad mood. I like some cheesiness. It was fun. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
I guess, but they go on.
Well, I liked all of that. I agree with you. The dinosaurs aren't too good, and it doesn't help that they shoot them all at night, which I think is a technique to cover up the fact that they're not really very high tech. I think Spielberg's going to have higher tech dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I also felt that the plot got a little murky when all of the women started to give birth to dinosaurs and everybody broke out in a fever and so forth. I was not quite sure exactly what the master plan was there.
The master plan is she's thought this through very carefully. She wants to impregnate all the women with dinosaur eggs and destroy the women so they'll die in childbirth, thus eliminating the ability of the human race to keep conceiving.
Well, that explains one of the key lines in the movie, which is half of the species will be exterminated. And then I'm thinking quickly and then another generation, the other half will go because there won't be anybody to give birth to them. So
the movie makes real good
clear
sense.
that up. Okay.
I don't, it's like a Men in Black moment. Like, that's not Gene. There's someone living inside his brain on that one. Or he's hopped up on Sudafed. I can't tell. But, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe we are too harsh on these guys sometimes when they break their modus operandi, right? Like we are so like into the idea that we know what they're gonna say and we know what their opinion on a film is going to be, that when they come out of left field like this, it's almost like they've betrayed us. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about this, because I'm like, I've been following you now for 80 something episodes, man. I thought I had you dialed in. Nowhere on my bingo card for 2025 was I going to think I was going to see a thumbs up for Carnosaur from Gene Siskel. It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And like you said, we can be harsh on these two critics, but again, we weren't harsh with Roger on Cop and a Half, and most critics disagreed with him on that as well. So everybody's going to interpret a movie differently. And if you were in a mood to see a goofy B movie puppet, horrible puppet, a dinosaur run the screen for an hour and 22 minutes that they can't even do a full 90 minutes on it, then more power to you. So that is going to be Gene's Cop and a Half. And the art critics are going to have those individual movies. But it comes to the end of the day, if we were to argue with Roger's take on some of his movies from Air Bud to Cop and a Half, et cetera, there's some imagination to it. Here, I can't understand because there's really no original imagination to it because it came from an adaptation. It came from a horrible execution of the adaptation. There's no real special effects that really are eye popping. And Roger even touched on it. Is all of it shot at night? And again, you even spoke to it. It's the filmmaking, strategic filmmaking to hide the really bad special effects, but the bad special effects shine through the murkiness and the darkness of it. So I think when it comes down to it, it's hard to pinpoint something positive from this movie other than strategic budgeting. But an audience and a viewer can care less about strategic budgeting. It's the end result that matters. And I don't see the ending result here.
I mean, but it's harder to critique these opinions of the movie. I mean, Roger's an obvious, but like, how am I supposed to critique Gene on this? How am I supposed to give him a score or a rating? It's like, normally I'm hypercritical of the guy for not appreciating a film enough. Not ever have I had to like be critical of the guy because he appreciated a film too much, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense. I don't think I can score this one at all because I feel it doesn't deserve a bad score because he's being so passionate. And that's all I'm always saying is he should be more passionate about his opinion. But here he is being passionate about his opinion in a movie that I think is dog shit. So I don't know where to stand. So I think I am going to just take a pass on this one and not give him a rating. I'm just going to appreciate the fact that he liked something, that he had fun, that I actually saw literal joy in his face talking about a movie that I hated. I'm going to let him have it and just be like, good for you, bro. You enjoy your Carnosaur.
You are so admirable. So I'll just fill in the blanks F. But when it comes to Roger, this is where I think he was so taken off guard that he didn't really know, kind of like us. We don't know where he's going with it. We don't know how to argue with it. It's just so many thoughts going through our head on why you're defending this movie. And even when Roger goes into some flaws of it, he's still defending it. So it's hard to review Roger because he is dumbfounded, but he does nail the points of what is problematic with this movie when it comes to the special effects. This is strategic filmmaking, the story that is the why. He even spent time to define why it doesn't make sense. And in movies that don't make sense, I kind of think of the logic to it, and he brings that to the table. But I think he didn't do this movie justice to detour people from the movie. I think it was so safe that he didn't really go against Gene enough. So to me, this is a hard one. Ebert nails all the points, but it's done safely. So I'm going to give him again 2.5 stars on this one.
I mean, the thing that we should have said at the beginning of this episode is that there was no place for this film on this show. Like, there is no good reason that Carnosaur should have been featured on the Siskel and Ebert show other than the fact that it's a B movie from Roger Corman coming out around the same time as the biggest movie of that year and probably one of the biggest movies of the decade. That's the only reason why it's on this show, because any other movie of its ilk wouldn't even have a chance to be on this program. So it's an enigma that it's even there to begin with. So I think it's got that going for it too. It's like, how can we justifiably really be constructively critical about this episode when this movie shouldn't have even
It must have
been
been a slow
on the episode
movie
to
week
begin
at
with.
this point, because going into
Dude, this is
Jurassic
May.
Park in the
This
summer.
is May 23rd of 1993. It's summertime. There were movies that were out at this time. Jurassic Park trounced them all, but come on, man. Like, I remember like Lethal Weapon 3 was out around this time. Coneheads was out around this time, right? Like, there were movies in the theater. Carnosaur had no reason to be on that list.
Gene was giving such horrible reviews to all these movies coming out, including Coneheads, that he had to give something a positive review. That's the theory I'm going with. I don't have any facts to that, though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Cool. Well, good conversation. So just to let the viewers know that we actually had recorded previously an episode on Carnosaur and the audio went bad. So we had to redo it. So we're a little out of order here. So just follow along with what we said we're recovering next on the other episodes. And this just kind of fits right in the middle. It's kind of just like a makeup episode for that. But that being said, if you have any listener requests or viewer requests, please let us know what they are, as long as Siskel and Ebert covered them on their show and we can find a video of it on the internet, we'll do anything. You can send that to us on our Facebook page, on our Instagram page, or on the YouTube channel in the comments. You can find me, Antonio, over at thecultworthy.com, and you can find my co-host Justin Henson over at
TheMovieWire.com.
Thank you for listening. Like, review, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.